What happens when two of television's most powerful voices collide in a battle that nobody saw coming? In just 31 seconds, a single comment would shatter years of mutual respect and send shockwaves through the studio that left everyone speechless. The view set was buzzing with its usual energy that morning. The studio audience filled every seat, cameras positioned perfectly to capture what everyone expected to be just another engaging conversation. Oprah Winfrey walked onto that stage with her signature grace, wearing an elegant navy suit that commanded attention. The applause was thunderous. This was supposed to be a friendly visit, a chance for Oprah to discuss her latest philanthropic ventures and perhaps share some wisdom about her incredible journey. Whoopi Goldberg sat at the center of the table, flanked by the other co-hosts. She greeted Oprah with what appeared to be warmth, but something felt different. There was a tension in her smile, a sharpness in her eyes that suggested this might not go as smoothly as planned. The conversation started innocently enough. Whoopi opened with a question about Oprah's recent projects. Oprah spoke passionately about the schools she had built, the scholarships she had funded, the lives she had touched. Her voice carried that familiar inspirational tone that had moved millions over the decades. She talked about young girls in underprivileged communities finally getting access to quality education, about breaking cycles of poverty, about creating opportunity where there had been none. But then Whoopi interrupted. "That's wonderful and all," Whoopi said, her tone dripping with something that wasn't quite contempt, but certainly wasn't respect. "But don't you think it's interesting how you get all this credit for helping people when you've got more money than most of us could spend in 10 lifetimes? The studio went quiet. You could feel the air being sucked out of the room. Oprah's smile faltered for just a fraction of a second before she recovered, maintaining her composure with the skill of someone who had navigated countless difficult interviews. "I'm not sure I understand what you're getting at, Whoopi," Oprah said carefully, her voice measured and calm. Whoopi leaned back in her chair, a smirk playing at the corners of her mouth. "I'm saying it's easy to be charitable when you're a billionaire. Real sacrifice is when someone who has nothing gives what little they have. What you do, that's not sacrifice. That's just tax deductions and good publicity." The other co-hosts shifted uncomfortably in their seats. One of them tried to jump in, to redirect the conversation, but Whoopi held up a hand to silence her. Oprah took a deep breath. "You know, Whoopi, I've never claimed that what I do is a sacrifice in the traditional sense. But I have dedicated my life to using the platform I've built to uplift others. Every dollar I've earned through hard work, and I choose to give back because I believe in creating opportunities for people who remind me of where I came from." "Where you came from," Whoopi repeated, her voice mocking now. "You love talking about where you came from, don't you? Poor little girl from Mississippi makes it big. But you know what? You left that behind decades ago. You sit in your mansion and you throw money at problems and you think that makes you some kind of saint." The audience gasped. This wasn't playful banter. This was an attack. Oprah's jaw tightened. "I have never claimed to be a saint. I'm a human being who has been blessed with success, and I try every single day to honor that blessing by helping others. If you have a problem with how I choose to live my life, that's your issue, not mine." "Oh, it's my issue now?" Whoopi shot back, her voice rising. "You come on this show, on my show, and you expect us all to sit here and applaud you for doing the bare minimum with your wealth? You want a medal for building a school? You should be building 100 schools. You should be doing so much more than you are." "And what exactly are you doing, Whoopi?" Oprah asked. Her voice still controlled, but with an edge creeping in. "When was the last time you built a school? When was the last time you funded scholarships for hundreds of children? When was the last time you used your platform for anything other than sitting at this table and tearing down people who are actually making a difference?" Whoopi's face flushed red. "Don't you dare question what I do. I work every single day. I show up to this table and I speak truth. I don't need to throw money around to prove I care about people." "Speaking truth?" Oprah said, her composure starting to crack. Is that what you call this? Because from where I'm sitting, this feels a lot like jealousy dressed up as social commentary. The word jealousy hung in the air like a grenade that had just been thrown. Whoopi stood up from her chair. Jealous? Of you? You think I'm jealous of someone who sold out every principle they ever had to become America's favorite talk show host? You think I'm jealous of someone who built an empire by telling people what they want to hear instead of what they need to hear? Oprah remained seated, but her hands gripped the armrests of her chair. I have never sold out. Everything I have done, every show I have produced, every interview I have conducted, has been authentic to who I am. I don't need to be cruel to be honest. I don't need to tear people down to build myself up. And I certainly don't need to sit here and be insulted by someone who clearly has some unresolved issues. Unresolved issues? Whoopi laughed, but there was no humor in it. The only issue I have is watching people like you get celebrated for doing the absolute bare minimum while the rest of us actually work for a living. The bare minimum, Oprah repeated slowly, standing up now to meet Whoopi eye to eye. I have given away over $400 million to educational causes alone. I have created jobs for thousands of people. I have used my voice to shine a light on injustice, on abuse, on inequality. And you call that the bare minimum? When you have billions, yes, 400 million is the bare minimum, Whoopi snapped. You could give away half your fortune and still live like a queen, but you won't, will you? Because at the end of the day, you care more about your wealth than you do about actually changing the world. Oprah's voice dropped to a near whisper. But somehow it filled the entire studio. You don't know anything about me. You don't know what I do behind closed doors. You don't know the conversations I have, the people I help who never make the news, the causes I support that don't come with photo opportunities. You sit here in your bubble of cynicism, and you judge me based on what? Your own insecurities? Your own regrets about the choices you've made in your career? Don't you psychoanalyze me, Whoopi hissed. I don't need Oprah Winfrey telling me about my insecurities. Then stop projecting yours onto me, Oprah fired back. One of the other co-hosts finally found her voice. Maybe we should take a break. Let everyone cool down. But Whoopi ignored her. You want to know what this is really about? It's about the fact that you've become so disconnected from reality that you actually believe your own press. You actually think you're this great humanitarian when really, you're just another rich person trying to buy a legacy. Oprah's eyes blazed. And you're just another bitter person trying to tear down someone else's legacy because you're afraid yours won't measure up. The silence that followed was deafening. Whoopi pointed toward the exit. If you don't like what I have to say, there's the door. Oprah stared at her for a long moment. The cameras captured every second of the standoff. Two titans of television, face to face, neither willing to back down. You know what, Whoopi, Oprah said finally, her voice eerily calm. I came here today as a guest. I came here with respect for this show and respect for you. But I will not sit here and be disrespected. I will not let you diminish the work that I do, the lives that I've touched, the difference that I've made, just because you've decided that success somehow makes a person less worthy of acknowledgement. Then leave, Whoopi said coldly. Oprah nodded slowly. I will, because unlike you, I know when a conversation has stopped being productive. I know when someone is more interested in scoring points than having a real dialogue. And I know my worth. I don't need your validation, and I certainly don't need your approval. She began to remove her microphone. Whoopi laughed again, that same hollow laugh. Of course you're leaving. That's what people like you do when you can't control the narrative. You walk away. Oprah paused, microphone in hand. No, Whoopi. People like me walk away when we realize we're wasting our time trying to reason with someone who has already made up their mind. You decided before I even sat down that you were going to come after me today. I don't know why. Maybe it's ratings. Maybe it's personal. Maybe it's something else entirely. But I'm not going to participate in whatever this is." She handed her microphone to a stunned producer who had rushed onto the set. "You think you're so much better than everyone else?" Whoopi called out as Oprah started walking toward the exit. "You think because you've got money and fame that you're untouchable." Oprah stopped and turned back one last time. "I don't think I'm better than anyone. But I also don't think I'm less than anyone, including you. And that, Whoopi, seems to be the real problem here. You can't stand that I won't shrink myself to make you feel bigger." "Get out," Whoopi spat. "I'm going," Oprah said. "But before I do, I want to say something to everyone watching. Don't let anyone, and I mean anyone, make you feel like your accomplishments don't matter. Don't let anyone tell you that your success is somehow wrong, or that you should apologize for working hard and achieving your dreams. And don't let anyone use your blessings as a weapon against you. If you're doing good in this world, if you're helping others, if you're using what you have to make a difference, then hold your head high. Don't let the critics, the cynics, or the jealous people bring you down." She looked directly at Whoopi. "And don't let people who should be lifting you up try to tear you down instead." With that, Oprah Winfrey walked off the View set. Her heels clicked against the floor with each step, the sound echoing through the silent studio. The camera operators didn't know whether to follow her or stay on Whoopi. The audience sat frozen, unsure if they should applaud, gasp, or remain quiet. Whoopi stood at the table, her face a mixture of anger and something else, something that looked almost like regret, but she quickly masked it. "Well," she said, turning back to the cameras with forced casualness, "I guess we know where Oprah stands on criticism." But her voice lacked conviction. The other co-hosts exchanged glances, clearly uncomfortable with what had just transpired. One of them tried to salvage the segment, tried to move on to the next topic, but the energy was gone. The show was derailed. Backstage, Oprah gathered her things. Her team surrounded her, asking if she was okay, offering support, clearly shaken by what they had witnessed. Oprah remained composed, thanking them quietly, assuring them she was fine. But those close to her could see the hurt in her eyes, the disappointment that someone she had considered a peer, perhaps even a friend, had ambushed her so publicly and so viciously. The show cut to commercial break, and in those few minutes, the world exploded. Social media lit up with clips of the confrontation. People took sides immediately. Some defended Whoopi, claiming she was asking tough questions that needed to be asked. But far more rallied behind Oprah, disgusted by what they saw as a classless attack on someone who had done nothing but try to make the world better. Back on set during the commercial break, Whoopi sat silent. The other co-hosts tried to talk to her, but she brushed them off. She had committed to her position, and there was no walking it back now. When the show returned from commercial, she offered a brief statement that felt more defensive than apologetic, claiming that hard conversations were what The View was all about, that she had simply been asking the questions that others were afraid to ask. But the audience wasn't buying it. The live studio audience, which had been so enthusiastic at the start of the show, now sat subdued. The energy had shifted completely. What should have been a celebratory interview had turned into something ugly, and everyone could feel it. The producers scrambled to fill the remaining time. They brought on the scheduled musical guest early. They extended commercial breaks. Anything to get through the rest of the show without further incident. But the damage was done. Oprah, meanwhile, left the building through a side entrance. She didn't speak to the reporters who had somehow already gathered outside. She didn't issue a statement. She simply got into her car and left, dignified in her silence. The questions that remained were simple, but profound. Why had Whoopi gone after Oprah so aggressively? What had she hoped to accomplish? Had there been tension between them before this moment that the public didn't know about? Or had Whoopi simply decided that attacking someone as beloved as Oprah would generate the kind of attention and controversy that The View thrived on? Whatever the reason, the confrontation revealed something important. It showed the difference between criticism and cruelty, between holding someone accountable and simply tearing them down. Whoopi had claimed to be speaking truth, but her delivery had been so hostile, so personal, that any valid points she might have had were lost in the venom. Oprah, by contrast, had shown remarkable restraint for most of the exchange. She had tried to engage, tried to explain, tried to defend herself without attacking back. And when it became clear that nothing she said would matter, that Whoopi was determined to paint her as the villain no matter what, Oprah had done the only thing she could do. She had refused to participate further. She had walked away with her dignity intact. The moment Oprah stood up and removed that microphone, she reclaimed her power. She refused to be a punching bag for someone else's agenda. She demonstrated that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away from a fight that serves no purpose other than to diminish you. The studio audience would never forget what they witnessed that day. The other co-hosts would replay the confrontation in their minds for weeks, wondering if they should have done more to intervene, to protect their guest, to stop the train wreck as it was happening. The producers would review the footage over and over, trying to understand how a routine interview had spiraled so completely out of control. And Whoopi would sit with the aftermath of her choices, watching as the public reaction rolled in, overwhelmingly negative toward her and sympathetic to Oprah. She had picked a fight with someone who had spent decades earning the public's trust and affection, and she had done so in a way that made her look petty and mean-spirited. The contrast couldn't have been starker. Oprah, who had built her empire on empathy, on uplifting others, on creating spaces for authentic conversation, had been blindsided by someone who claimed to value straight talk, but had instead delivered a character assassination. And in that moment, when Oprah chose to leave rather than engage in a mud-slinging contest, she proved exactly why she had become the icon she was. She didn't need to win an argument. She didn't need to destroy Whoopi's credibility or make her look foolish. She simply needed to stand in her truth and refuse to let anyone diminish it. That walk off that set wasn't an act of weakness or avoidance. It was an act of self-respect. A clear message that she valued herself too much to stay in a situation that was designed to demean her. The cameras had captured every moment, every word, every facial expression. The footage would be analyzed and debated for days, weeks, months to come. But what it ultimately showed was a masterclass in grace under fire. Oprah had been attacked, disrespected, and insulted on live television, and she had responded not with equal venom, but with dignity. She had made it clear that her work spoke for itself, that she didn't need to justify her choices to someone who had already decided to judge her harshly. She had drawn a line, establishing that respect was non-negotiable, even in the world of daytime television, where controversy often reigned supreme. The View would continue, of course. Shows always do. But that particular episode would go down in television history as the day that Whoopi Goldberg's attempt to take down Oprah Winfrey backfired spectacularly, because you can't diminish someone's light by pointing out that it's bright. You only end up revealing your own darkness. Oprah's exit from that stage wasn't an ending. It was a statement, a declaration that she knew her worth and wouldn't let anyone convince her otherwise. And in a world where people are constantly trying to bring others down to their level, that kind of self-assurance, that kind of unshakable confidence in one's own value and purpose was revolutionary. The audience that day witnessed more than just a heated exchange between two television personalities. They witnessed a moment of truth, where one person's insecurity and bitterness collided with another person's grace and self-possession, and there was never any doubt about who came out on top. Because at the end of the day, When all the words had been spoken and all the accusations had been made, Oprah Winfrey walked off that set with her head held high, her integrity intact, and her legacy secure. And that, more than anything else, was what this moment would be remembered for. Not the attacks, not the anger, but the quiet strength of a woman who refused to be diminished.